So, I've been playing Destiny 2 for a while now. Today I want to share my opinion on the game, the good, the bad, and if you should even consider buying the DLCs. Alright, so my journey with Destiny 2 didn't start very well. I first tried the game in Season 12, Season of the Hunt. While I was instantly captured by the gunplay and the movement, there really was no clear objective for me to start at, or at least the game didn't really tell me that. So I quickly uninstalled and installed it again a few times after that, always with the same issue. Where's the red line? What do I do? Where do I need to go? Now, I'm not new to shooters. I'm not new to looters, and I'm definitely not new to looter shooters. But Destiny 2 made it incredibly hard to get into a flow of, I know what the fuck I'm doing, and where the fuck I need to go to get specific loot, or, to progress. The new player experience can only be described as lacking basic directions after the first initial mission. There are multiple timelines to play in, and you don't really have to follow the story to progress in game, which is both nice and confusing. Nice in terms of giving me the freedom to do whatever I want, and confusing in terms of not having a sense of direction. Yep, that's the same argument still, because it still holds up. A little bit later, while searching for a new game to play, I finally said, fuck it, I'm trying Destiny 2 again, I want to make this work. So during Season of the Lost, I got into playing again, and this time I was joined by some friends.
Cause you're my special friend.
Who could lead me to the more fun sides of the game, and that's where this whole story started. So let's quickly get out of the way what I really enjoy about Destiny 2 and what makes me come back to it every now and then, because admittedly I don't have a whole lot of time to play games anymore. Number 1 is gunplay. It might not seem that far of a reach for D2 players, but the gunplay is amazing. The way guns look, how they feel, the impact they can have, and the feeling you get when you hit something, it's just so very right. It's the most spot-on gunplay I've had since Medal of Honor, obviously aside from realism, but shooting a hand cannon feels like shooting a 20-ton truck through a narrow tunnel with the acceleration of 1,000 nuclear bombs. Shooting and hitting something with your bow almost feels like I'm playing Crysis 3 again, and let's not even get started on shotguns and rocket launchers. Big plus for the gunplay. Number 2 is movement and mobility. While I'm used to a more elaborate and faster movement system from previous games I've played, Destiny 2 doesn't do a bad job at movement and mobility at all. Jumps, dodges, flying, sword skating, using her sparrow like a windmill to get somewhere faster, it all feels so fluid. The only real issue I've ever had with movement is the Warlock jumps. I've no clue how you guys do it, but god damn it, Warlock jumps are hard to pull off consistently.
I'm sideways! I'm fucking horizontal!
The movement mechanics are accompanied by frequent movement-based puzzles or parkour sections, which amplifies the connection between the player and their guardian. Number 3 of the things I like are classes. I love skill sets, and I love games that can pull skill sets off in a really good way. Destiny 2 is one of those games. Even after 500 hours, I can't get enough of an electrified sliding uppercut, throwing daggers or flaming hammers, or why don't you just throw a singularity at your opponent while you suck out the life force of your last enemy? The classes and subclasses in D2 are nuts, especially after the Void 3.0 update, which brought a whole bunch of quality of life upgrades, easier speccing, and more freedom to how you want to build your guardian. Granted, there are classes that either don't feel balanced enough or balanced too much, but for a live service game to have this much attention spent on different skills, keeping them fresh and adding to them with new classes, that deserves a massive plus. Number 4 is worlds, aka level design and graphics. Destiny 2 is a beautiful game. Not only are the graphics holding up fairly well, but the world and level design are sublime. Every level has a somewhat linear way to follow, while leaving open enough space to approach your enemies how you want to approach them. The worlds are all different, have their own unique biome and their own feeling. The planets being pretty much open, aside from some locked areas for strikes and or raids, helps with the immersion. And I could just walk around, for example, the EDZ for a while without getting bored and seeing something new every time. Number 5 is raids. I'm not going to lie, Destiny 2 has been the first game where I've intentionally learned, organized, and enjoyed raids. There's something about committing X amount of hours striving to one goal with friends. My first D2 raid was the Last Wish, and it took us the greater part of 5 hours to get it done. It has been pretty much one of the best experiences in this game so far, and I look forward to every raid I'm a part of. The mechanics are often quite easy to understand once you get them down, and most raids really lead you on to either learn X mechanic from easy to hard, or completely switches mechanics up and surprises you with something new with every encounter. And lastly, well, on this list at least, is loot. There simply is no denying that Destiny 2 does it right when it comes to loot. The amount, the impact of said loot, and the feeling a player gets while receiving an exotic, for example, after you just, do some casual gaming is insanely addictive. The random weapon drops with random perks, the random stat armor that can be influenced with seasonal stuff, the exotic hunting, the raid gear gathering, hell even Xur can be a very rewarding option to just get some gear. Hunting for that one weapon that'll give you the edge, that one leg piece with 5 more mobility so you can roll double 100s on your stat bars. Do I even need to go on? Alright, let's not strain that goldfish attention span and head straight to what I don't like or what I found to be a negative experience with Destiny 2. Number 1 is the new player experience. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I can't stress this enough. The new player experience is bad. It's so bad that if I wouldn't have had a constant influence of people telling me to try the game again, I'd have boycotted Destiny 2. I'm aware that there have to be other priorities, there's sunsetting, yada yada yada, but having a new player experience or introduction to the game really shouldn't be season or expansion bound and has to be understandable from the get-go. There's no excuse for the current state of things, and I really hope the team behind Destiny 2 can come up with an awesome alternative. Number 2, information scarcity. Being someone who just came from a game where you need a whole ass wiki just to know where to get X resource, I strongly dislike having to do the same in Destiny 2. Not only is it hard to find out where to get X resource, it's nigh impossible to know where specific weapons and or gear drop. Obviously, someone who has played D2 for a while knows where things drop, but even after 500 hours I find it difficult to see where I need to go to find that hand cannon someone absolutely destroyed me with and teabagged my corpse afterwards in the Crucible. It's not as intense as many other games, I know that, but a simple nudge with a dungeon, strike, raid name in an extended menu of the weapon or gear would be enough for me to not have to go to a third-party website. Number 3 is Loadout Management. In a game as extensive and wide as Destiny 2, I would have expected it to have a loadout system, where I could switch my gear with a simple press of a button that I, predefined earlier on. Not only is the gear switching plus the necessary mod reordering an annoyance, it's also a complete time waster, forcing the player to stay outside of what they actually want to play for longer than necessary because, for example, they can't remember what PvE mods they used last time. A simple ABC loadout slot option would fix a lot of the time loss occurring between missions and would make a lot of Guardians very happy. Plus, if Dim can do it, the groundworks are already laid out. Hopefully we get to see this sooner rather than later. Number 4 is LFG/matchmaking. Yep, I couldn't make this list without one of the most annoying things to me personally. I can't tell you how much it goes against my will to join LFG discords and similar just to be able to enjoy playing a dungeon, raid, or harder content in general. I'm aware that this harder content needs some sort of coordination within a team, so everyone has fun and or can complete the objective at least, but finding people in LFG groups proves to be a pain in the ass more often than not, and I'd rather join in with randoms from the get-go. A suggested kind of fix would be where a player is able to choose their experience grade, or the game decides the player's experience according to the amount of playtime they have in the chosen and or previous dungeons, raids, etc., and looking for teammates in that experience group. This would save a lot of players the displeasure of having to look for teammates themselves while all they want to do is complete the Grasp of Avarice, for example. Number 5 is monetization/transmog. I know, boohoo, big crocodile tears, because a big game needs big money to make more big expansions. No, this is not a full-on war against monetization or transmog, but rather a nudge against existing systems, plus a hope for a better or at least more easily accessible system. Now I understand that a game like D2 needs to make money. and that is perfectly fine. Funds need to be allocated to make room for new DLCs, new seasons, and of course straight up just to pay them bills. My issue with the Transmog system is that D2 has a vast array of armory. With that I mean there's so many options for cool looks and or a change in appearance that transmogging is inevitable. The existing system isn't rewarding enough Synthwave though to make a full look possible earlier on. Progress is slow, it's tedious, and buying Synthwave threads simply is too expensive for it to feel like a worthwhile investment. You can get Synthwave from 8.1, however these missions drag on unless you play a bunch of Crucible and are hard capped at 10 per season per character. I mean, if you're anything like me, a casual player, you'll get like 4 out of 5 Synthwave max per season and just have to live with looking like you came out of a fucking space thrift store. So with all that said, what is Destiny 2 like after 500 hours, and is it worth spending money on the DLCs they offer? Destiny 2 can have many faces, but for me it's turned into the go-to pick-me-up game, where it doesn't really matter when or how I decide to play, I can always be guaranteed with a good time, be that with story-driven content, strikes, Crucible, or dare I even mention Gambit. D2 can be an incredible time sink, especially considering the amount of learning that needs to be done when you take weapon perks, perfecting your stats and optimal modding into consideration. There's continual new or better loot to get, there are things to work towards, there's an active fashion sense going on, and all in all I'd consider the community as mostly very friendly. I don't regret a single second I've spent on the game and can honestly recommend trying the game at least once. What I will mention about that though is that Destiny 2 in its current state isn't inherently free to play. I'd consider the game as free to try. The reality of things is that most of the good content is concealed behind a paywall, and most of this good content is paramount to getting the full experience of playing the game and its multitude of modes. However, you can still get a good grasp of what the experience of playing Destiny 2 is like without buying all the DLCs and season passes. Now, if you do decide that you like the game and would consider putting some more hours in, I would strongly recommend getting the latest expansions Beyond Light and the Witch Queen. Just the Witch Queen is absolutely packed with great things like weapons, an insane story mode, a very fun raid, and much more. I've been playing the Witch Queen since it came out and I still haven't finished all of what it has to offer. That said, the next season is on the horizon, so I might need to get the grinding stuff myself. So yeah, that's about it. Oh, before I forget, one last itty bitty little bitty thing, subscribe to the channel. Stay safe out there, Guardians. Later.